Should we buy or sell Qualys? So first off, read this disclaimer carefully. Let's just jump right into the website. Let's check that we have 100% Zoom. Qualys, one platform, one agent, one view. The Qualys cloud platform and its powerful cloud agent provide organizations with a single IT security and compliance solution, from prevention to detection to response. So this is cyber security. 2 trillion security events per year. So 6 sigma scanning accuracy, so very good. So we can find this stock in a theme called cyber security under the megatrends. Here is Qualys, 4% from the 52-week low and 35% away from the highs. And of course, do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. Cybersecurity is, of course, a big topic. One of the big changes, though, is that, like back in the day, you usually got hacked in the classical way. Someone installed some malware on your machine, and then you were compromised. But something that has become more common these days is something called social engineering. That is when someone calls you or sends you a message claiming to be someone they are not, and using that as a way to get access that they shouldn't have. And that is, it's more difficult to protect yourself from, but there are mechanisms to detect those kinds of mails as well, or to scan, if you scan the voices of the people that work at a company, then if someone else calls and claiming to be a certain person, then an AI would be able to detect that the voice is different. But a lot of companies do not use those kinds of tools due to privacy concerns, so it's a bit messy. But cybersecurity is definitely a huge topic, but I think that social engineering is going to be the big thing going forward, and preventing that. So here is the stock chart for Qualys, weekly data points. The problem is that we have lost the 200-week moving average, but there isn't a whole lot of interaction with that moving average. You have to go all the way back here to March of 2020. So it is a moving average that matters, but when there's very few interactions, then there will be other indicators that are more of a big deal. I think that the big deal in this case is horizontal levels. You do see that back here, there's a lot of horizontal support levels. We have seen a sizable pullback already, and if you look here at the recent wicks, which is the lower end of the candlesticks, they are showing higher lows. There's something interesting here, not like roaringly bullish, but something to explore further. Looking at weekly data points, MACD is really, really, really low. Looking at RSI, also in the very low end of the range. Numerous times where we tested this in the past, it formed lows. Looking at the purple 20-week PPO, the green 50-week PPO, and also the blue 100-week PPO, we are very oversold. Going to daily data points, we recently bounced from a low end of RSI that has a bit of a tendency to result in rallies. So all in all, there is something here that could be more bullish than bearish. In my notes, I write horizontal support as the entry signal. I give the bulls 4 here on the technicals. So this is not like some roaring bullish technical setup, but it is interesting. Looking at the seasonality here, green the last 5 years, blue the last 7 years, really bullish seasonality. Except that you can see that February might have some give back later into that month. Looking here to the right, you do see here that January so far has produced a 5.7% loss. Going way back here, you see that we are on the low end of that typical performance of January. Hence, you could make a case that a lot of the selling might already have occurred. The problem for the seasonality is February. You can see that this is the actual month by month data going back, and it's not bullish for February. However, there is a caveat. So 2013 was bad for January and February. 2016, when it was bad for January, it was okay for February and also okay for March. In 2022, bad year for January. Then February was a bit, nothing special. But then March was very strong. If we look here at February, during 2020, February was bad. Then March, April, and May was very good. 2021, February very bad. Then the following month was good. Hence, given that so far this month has been bad, based on the seasonality data we have seen, you could make a case that the next month could, well, the current month could also be decent in the sense that we might go back more to the mean of the month, and also next month could be decent. So I will give the bulls a 3 here on the seasonality, a modest score, but there's something here that could be bullish, well, more bullish than bearish. Next, we will look at the fundamentals. So here is Qualys. Blue is price book ratio. We do see that price book is, well, it is not super high, but it's not at the lows either. But we've seen a pullback, so we are back to a place where buyers have stepped in the past during previous pullbacks. Price to sales is especially interesting because the last time we were at this level, that was here, which was a key low for Qualys. So yeah, in terms of price to sales, you can also go back here and see that this is where a key low was formed and the big rally came in the chart. Further, you could argue that we are at horizontal support versus price earnings ratio in green. When we look here at the other data, the forecasts, we do see that 15 analysts have a 1-year price target for Qualys. The average price target is 24.6% above us. The highest is 56.4% above us. And the lowest price target is 2% below us. So overall here, the analysts are feeling pretty bullish here on Qualys. So I think the fundamental data here was really good. I will give the bulls a whopping 8 here on the fundamentals. Very interesting to see horizontal support levels on key fundamental ratios like price to sales and price to earnings. Let's look at relative performance. These are weekly data points, so long term, and we have 53% positive correlation with S&P 500, 55% with the tech ETF XLK, and we have 27% here with the cybersecurity ETF hack. That is definitively not what I would expect to see. Going to the daily data points, 26% with S&P 500, 38% with the technology ETF, then 55% with hack. So short term, the strongest correlation is with the cybersecurity ETF. But when we look short and long term, then the strongest correlation actually is with the tech ETF. So for some reason, this stock is more correlated with the tech ETF. So we have to look at the tech ETF. Okay. In this case, something very interesting recently happened with this ETF. We bounced from the red 200 week moving average. It was a pretty good time to turn bullish. So there's a bit of a rally in motion here in tech. Looking at the daily data points, I don't think we are overbought. No, still some distance away from being overbought, so that's not an issue. Let's quickly look at the seasonality for tech. Usually might be some additional weakness in January. So far, January has been pretty strong here for tech in 2023. February is a very unpredictable month. Ever since 2015, it's been very either or. So February is a bit messy. Okay. Let's do some relative performance comparison like that, and we take it against, of course, the XLK. XLK, like that. Okay. And we have seen a lot of underperformance from Qualys. When we reach this low level of RSI at the bottom, it usually is a very good time to buy. Massive outperformance here. Well, here also outperformance. In this case, it was a very temporary bounce, but we are very close to that level where it usually makes sense to go bullish on Qualys and maybe a bit bearish on XLK, at least comparing these two. Very low on the daily data points. This usually is a time where we see some bounce here from Qualys, where it outperforms the XLK. So very oversold. Here is the seasonality of these two. The indicator here to the left, very bullish. Indicator to the right shows that in January there's been a 10% underperformance over that, which is very high on the spectrum. As such, a lot of the bearishness might already have occurred. So I think that there is reason now to expect some outperformance from Qualys. As such, I do think I will give the bulls. I think I will give the bulls a 5 here on relative performance. Interesting stuff here for Qualys. So the score is 5.0 in favor of the bulls overall. We are at horizontal support. The fundamentals are really, really, really good. Very rare to see horizontal support on fundamental ratios. The analysts are definitively feeling the love here, so looks pretty darn good for Qualys. The only caveat might be that given that this is a high-tech stock, it's not necessarily the stock that fundamental analysts are really keen on. So even though we have very good fundamental scores, that doesn't mean that this is a stock that's very watched and traded by those who are very much driven by fundamentals. Okay, we do have some time left. Let's look at the top holdings in the XLK. First is Apple. We are seeing. I mean, I think Apple is a bit noisy here technically. It's not really at a horizontal support level. So let's go to the next one. That's Microsoft. Microsoft is extremely interesting because of Chat GPT. Because Microsoft has invested $1 billion in OpenAI, so they have some kind of tech exclusivity deal. So Chat GPT, it's very likely going to come to Bing, and that could be very huge, very much huge for Microsoft's position in search. It's been struggling a lot for a long time with Bing trying to make it work, but ChatGPT could be extremely beneficial for Microsoft's position. We are seeing some bounce here from the red 200-week moving average. I mean, we are testing the underside here of the green 50-day moving average. So maybe this is not the ideal entry. Let's look at some other metrics. Seasonality is pretty decent. So far, we are very flat here for January. Generally speaking, January tends to be a decent month, at least since 2012. Looking at the fundamentals, price to book ratio, price to sales, price earnings as well is also not that bad. Price earnings is at horizontal support-ish level. So that's pretty good. So let's look here at the price targets. You get a 1.14% yield from Microsoft. 42 analysts have a 1-year price target. Oh, very bullish. So average is 20% above us, highest is 52.6, minimum is 2% below us. So the analysts are definitively feeling rather bullish here on Microsoft. Here is a new feature that's come here in Trading View. Yeah, a lot of different takes here on Microsoft. It can be a bit difficult when people are not writing their comments from a more like general perspective. Like this is like 15-minute high compression squeeze is firing, headed for daily 21, looking for that is like very specific. But yeah, this is a new feature that's come to TradingView, and it's probably going to evolve over time, where people sort of see what kind of comments works best. With the recent decline, it's easy to forget how much of a machine this company has been the last decade. Yeah, yeah. So here you can see, the chart over time. It's definitely been a high performer. The problem though is that during recessions, like you can see here, let me draw it in. Back here, you can see that Microsoft definitively will go down with the market. So if this here is the beginning of a recession, then there could be substantial more downside for Microsoft, because Microsoft is in a lot of mutual funds. So if a mutual fund is bullish on Microsoft, but they have to liquidate positions because people are exiting their fund positions, due to the poor performance, then they will have to also reduce their positions in Microsoft. Yeah. So yeah, interesting stuff. So we have looked at Qualys and looked at Microsoft. So yeah, interesting times ahead. So whatever you do, of course, have an entry signal and a stop loss.